Welcome to the August 2019 horoscope, and we've got quite the finishing up month. So as we speak right now, I'm sure you're feeling this, especially if you have planets or angles, sensitive points between degrees of 21 to 26 of the cardinal signs. That is Aries, Libra, Cancer, Capricorn. If you have planets or angles or sensitive points at those degrees, you're feeling this Mercury station. This particular Mercury station is occurring, get my notes, at 23 Cancer. So this particular Mercury station is not only making the station opposing Pluto, which was involved in the eclipse last month. So this is finishing off some old business that's associated with that eclipse, but it's also conjunct the fixed star Procyon, which is known as the little dog star. So this is a time of incredible portent, and also people reaching their limit and making decisions, right? So, enough is enough and I can't take anymore. And boy, they're serious. So before I go any further, I just want to apologize. I may be clearing my throat a little more frequently. My allergies, this has been a horrible month, and my allergies this month have just been completely unforgiving. So right now I've got a lot of, well, if you have allergies, you know what this is about. And right now I've got a big sore lump right here in my throat that hurts every time I swallow. So I'm apologizing in advance. It's not really going to get much better than this until my sinuses calm down. And listen, between you and me, I'm not completely convinced that they're not doing chemical warfare somewhere and we're not getting some of the fallout at a distance, because this is ridiculous. Just saying. Okay, so as we go through the month, and these are my notes, by the way. Now you can do horoscopes like a real astrologer. Okay, so as we go through the month, there are a number of things that we want to look for. The other thing with this Mercury station, conjunct Procyon and opposing Pluto, is it's occurring under a new moon. So this group of things occurring at the same time point to literally a brand new cycle, like a big brand new cycle. So we're closing out, obviously you have to close one thing for you to start another. So we're not only closing out a lot of old business, but this is literally the start of a new evolutionary cycle moving forward. Also, with that said, we're just going to be rocking and rolling and shaking with this stuff for a while. Now, as we move forward, once the dust settles, and I would look for this Mercury stationing direct at 23 Cancer, I would wait for Mercury to get down to about 27 Cancer, like in those last 3 degrees. Once they say it's about 27 Cancer, the biggest shakes and aftershocks from the eclipse in July should be over. Now, that doesn't mean that nothing can happen, but it does mean that the worst of it should be over, which is good, because honest to God, every time I think it can't possibly get any worse, it does. My outrage and shock meter button is broken at this point. So I've got my own, I don't know about you, but I've got my own form of PTSD going now. But I just want to interject here real quick. So here's the thing I want you guys to understand as light workers, right? So right now, this seems like the darkest of times for a lot of us, right? Like, oh my God, have people lost their ever-loving mind? Like the line in Shakespeare about hell is broken open and all the demons have been let loose, to make havoc on the planet. It kind of feels like that right now. It really does feel like the demons are running everything at this point. And here's the thing to understand, right? As a light worker, the most important thing is that our thoughts create our reality. We all agree this. But at the same time, when stuff like this happens, it can seem very overwhelming, and it can seem like there's no way we could have possibly created this. But in a lot of ways, just by accepting a thought, even if you don't believe in it, but by not disputing it or by not holding an alternate thought that is in direct balance or opposition to the thought that you're not keen on, we are participating in the creation or acceptance of that thing as reality. So we have literally a whole faction of people for generations now that have convinced themselves that the end of the world is coming. How many times have they made that prediction and got it wrong? So the end of the world is coming, and Armageddon, and yada, yada, yada. And look up Christian Zionist if you get a chance. So one of the things that we're also seeing is that they're also, because this is a group think, right? This is a whole group thing. They're in many ways trying to, and not well create this reality. They're trying to literally manifest this reality, or this Armageddon, this end of the world. The thing you have to understand is it's not working. They're not being successful with this. And because if they were, things would be much worse right now. Much worse. Good Lord. Because Lord knows we've got the recipe for all of it, right? So the reason it's not working is because so many of you for so long and for so many generations have been committing to a better, bigger picture, committing to a world where people, everybody, not some people, not a few people, not chosen people, but everybody can coexist and thrive and be wonderful and happy and nurture each other and support each other. And there's plenty, so we can go self-actualize as opposed to living in fear, operating on survival levels all the time. Because so many of you have hung on to the idea, the visualization, the future reality that we are going to be okay, and we're going to be above all of this, and we're going to survive and thrive and be wonderful, and we are not scared animals, living from place to place and food to food kind of thing, emergency to emergency. This is why this mind think, this group think of people that are trying to bring on Armageddon, why it's not working. Okay, and remember, given everything that we know and everything that we have at our disposal in the modern world, Armageddon would be like that. It would be nothing, right? We've got all the things we need for that cake if it comes to the recipe, and it's not working. And it's not working because you, a part of you at some point, has been committed to this idea that we are better than that. Okay, that the world and the future can be better than that. So hang on to that in these dark times and understand that no matter how bad it looks right now, it could be a lot worse. And for those of you who are young enough to not know this, ask somebody older than you about what it was like in the 60s and the 70s. Ask them about the bloodshed and the resistance and the violence that was necessary to get us where we are now. And we're here now, and we don't have Tiananmen Square. We don't have Kent State. We don't have the violent resistance that we did back in the 60s and 70s because we have evolved. We're better than that now. And we're all coming together. So fight the good fight. Start here. Don't buy into the BS. So, and this is especially true if you are a light worker and you're into the metaphysics and all sort of stuff, because the thing to understand is that anytime you start feeding into this nonsense about conspiracy theories, like what the hell? Area 51, really? We have children in cages dying that have been ripped out of their parents' arms after traveling under God knows what kind of conditions for God knows how many miles, trying to escape the threat of death by gang cartels and corrupt police and everything else. And they come here and they get thrown in cages like animals, ripped out of their parents' arms, and they're dying. And these people think going and seeing the aliens in a military-controlled area as like a great cause to pursue, like this is the height of importance in their life. So people are involved in conspiracy theories, clearly have entirely too much time in their hands. This whole deep state, fake news, all that sort of stuff, QAnon, whatever. Like, here's the thing. It may be true, it may not be true, but the most important thing is that a lot of these things, all they do is feed into and fuel fear and paranoia. Neither of those things are going to help you get anything done. And as a light worker, if you believe that your thoughts create reality, fear and paranoia will not create the reality you want. So this would be a great time to start cleaving away from people who literally have to have conspiracy theories and all sorts of fearful paranoia, nonsense, deep state, fake news, blah, 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 blah. Because that's the only source of arousal and excitement in their life. And listen, between you and me, that's really what it is. So get your mind right, folks. Get your mind right and congratulate yourself that we have gotten this far with so little bloodshed compared to not 50 years ago. And this is because we're all in the right place. So let's keep doing more of that. All right. Now, as we move on in the month, so Mercury will move into Leo on August 13th. Around this time, but wait till there's more. Around this time, Uranus, or actually on the same day, Uranus will be stationing retrograde. Now, the thing that's important about these two planets is that they're both planets of the mind. Mercury represents the lower mind, or your everyday street-based mind. Uranus is higher ideals, principles, abstract concepts, all the things that are great on paper and will not pay your bills, or at least not in the immediate sense. So with Mercury changing signs in the Leo and Uranus stationing retrograde in Taurus, and they're making a square to each other, yay, there will be a lot of hyper irritability at this time. And also be prepared for some folks to make an about face on decisions they had made earlier. So for those of you who have contracts that are pending, you may find that people pull contracts literally and change their mind at the last minute with absolutely a refusal to compromise or reconsider. For those of you who are in negotiations, understand that people are not being flexible right now. So, and they're also very impatient. So around the 13th, the most important thing to understand is that you're going to have to be brief, concise, literally to the point, get down to the absolute essentials, and understand that there will be no room for compromise in any of these discussions. So whoever it is that you're talking to, be sure that you are on point and you're getting to your point quickly, all right? Because there's no dancing around or anything like that. And as a sidebar, the other thing to understand is that if you are of the mind that you like to, well, control the conversation, we'll put it that way, or manipulate the conversation, all this sort of stuff. But in however you go about it, you control the conversation and like to see yourself as a persuader. I'm a persuader, baby. This would not be that time. That may come back and bite you on the butt. So being as frank and candid and on the table as you possibly can right now is the only thing that's going to keep you from getting into a big pot of hot water shortly afterwards. Okay. Now, as this is happening, let's see what we got here. Jupiter will station direct this month at the beginning of the month at 14 Sag. Yay, Jupiter, finally, right? So Jupiter will make things a little bit easier and certainly bring in some saving graces. Now, remember, Jupiter will still be in square to Neptune. So the thing with the Jupiter-Neptune square is it does two things. One, it makes things overly optimistic. So we tend to overestimate our abilities. We overpromise things. We overinflate. Everything gets bigger than we may necessarily actually be able to deliver or able to receive. Now, and there are lots of people who would say, oh, Neptune and Pisces, drugs, alcohol, crazy people, Those things would be true, but that's not really what it's about, right? And Jupiter, they like to see Jupiter as the big Santa Claus of the zodiac. Ooh, Jupiter's going to bring me stuff. And some of that is true too, but that's also not what really Jupiter is about. So the two together tend to exaggerate everything. So here's the thing. When it comes to what we believe what we want to believe, not what's true. How many times in your lifetime have you ever heard, what? So-and-so? What? That's ridiculous. I don't believe that. They would never. So it's not that it's true or it's not true. It's that you don't want to believe that. And think about how many times you have, been suckered in by something or believed something about a relationship that you were in, right? Only found out later that you really missed the whole thing there. Like, where was I during this relationship? How did I miss that? Because we believe what we want to believe, not what's true. So with Jupiter and Neptune, that ability to turn a blind eye to the truth as it is, instead preferring the truth as we'd like to see it, is very, very strong right now. This is very good when you're doing things like visualization, right? So those of you who follow, is it Abraham Hicks? The Abraham Hicks? And they're a really good one for this concept, right? This application. So the idea, if you want to use it in this way, where you're focusing on the thing that you want to see, right? I'm going to manifest this vision because this is the only thing I'm going to keep in my mind as true and real. And everything else right now is just a minor distraction, right? A little test to see how committed I am to my faith or my vision. If you're of that mind, this Jupiter-Neptune square is going to be outstanding. Because remember, Jupiter and Neptune are in their natural rulership. So they have the ability to bring out the most dynamic, positive side of each other. If, on the other hand, you're not given to that and you're much more, prone to laziness, right? You just want to daydream. I just want to daydream. I want to, dude, why does this have to be so hard? Like, wow, man. I just want to go back and smoke a bowl. Or whatever. This Jupiter-Neptune square will not be your friend because it will literally make you more of an escapist, self-indulgent, looking for the shortcut, easy way out than you normally are. So you're really going to have to fight that urge and tendency to take the easy way out of situations mentally and otherwise. If you're willing to put the work in, and because these are, again, mental stuff, right? Jupiter and Neptune both have to do with faith. So Jupiter is faith in action, and Neptune is faith when there's no reason to believe, right? Combined with Mercury and Uranus, which are both the mind. Mercury is the lower mind, the everyday stuff. Uranus is the higher mind, all the abstract principles, the higher thinking, academics, all this sort of stuff. All of these things together right now through the month of August indicate that the most powerful tool we have to leverage is what we believe in and what we want to believe and what we're willing to accept as reality now and or in future. So if you don't get anything else done this month, definitely put the time in to get your mind right, because you can accomplish powerful things. For those of you who use vision boards or do journaling or write letters to from your future self, this is a great time to really hone in and focus on that practice. So magic, visualization, journaling, all those things that have to do with reality creation, this is the time to do it. This is the time to do it. No. Mostly because, Jesus, we're not going to get a whole lot else done. We're just going to be exhausted from all the other stuff that's going on. Now, a little note about the 13th. So we know that Mercury and Uranus are going to be in square with each other. Uranus will be stationing retrograde as Mercury changes signs into Leo. And they'll be making a hard ass with each other. At the same time, this particular day is a hot spot, especially the 3 or 4 days leading up to it, because we have a full moon on the 13th as well at 22 Aquarius. So here's the thing. With a Mercury-Uranus square and a full moon on top of it, tempers are going to fly. Irrational people are going to be irrational. Impatient people are going to be impatient. People who are pig-headed, you know who I'm talking about. They'd rather literally go through the wall with their head than wait 5 seconds to open the door, ask somebody to give them a hand. People who are pig-headed are going to be even more pig-headed. So the personalities that are most prone to being extremely rigid and extremely controlling and extremely fixed in their ideas and hate to compromise and don't like to listen to other people's way of seeing things, like that kind of personality, they're really going to be over the moon around the 13th under this full moon. So with that said, understand you can't reason with them. There's nothing you can do with them. Just stay out of their way, all right, as best you can. Don't get sucked into a war with them, because they will literally turn this into an all-out war. You will be their pet project because they're going to want to put that energy somewhere. If you are out driving, be aware that road rage is going to be more frequent than usual, and the really aggressive drivers that want to act like they own the road, you need to get out of their way kind of thing, and this only one way to drive around here, whatever, even no matter how ridiculous their logic is and untrue, they're going to be even more so. So don't get into playing a game of chicken on the road with them. Like, let them have the road. Just let them go. Don't engage. Just let them go. The other thing with a full moon and this Mercury around a square, because the full moon's in Aquarius on top of everything else, there's also the possibility that networks, electronic networks, so either power grids or communication grids like the internet, may go through some weird wobble or shutdown, like when the blackout, right? Or nuclear power plants, anything that generates energy or connects the masses and allows work to function, especially if it has to do with things like electronics or electricity, or the production of electricity. These are things that are going to be highlighted around the 13th and could be more sensitive to unexpected disruptions. So be aware of that as well. So if you're one of those people that's got 26,000 extension cords, you know who you are, in every outlet around your house. This is not a good time to do that. You may want to go through and really start to unplug a lot of unnecessary stuff and check with your fire department about how this is a fire hazard and how to correct that. I'm just saying, electrical cords, those multi-outlets, I'm looking at mine now, right? Those multi-outlet electric safety cords and stuff, they are actually potential fire hazards, depending on how they're hooked up to each other, and certainly don't have electrical cords, extension cords plugged into other extension cords. So, if this is you, get it checked. We'd like you to not end up in a burn unit. All right. Now, shortly after this, right around the 19th, this is when life finally calms the hell down. Yay! So on the 19th, Mars will go into Virgo. On the 22nd, Venus will go into Leo. Virgo. Venus will go into Virgo as well. And this also is around... Nope, that's it. Okay, so what is important here, some things that are important, is, yes. So when Mars goes into Virgo on the 19th, so first things first, so Venus and Mars are traveling like a pair of little lovebirds all month long through Leo. So people are feeling pretty good. And it's a fun time. People this month, in spite of everything that's just not right in the world, people want to share a little love. And they want to have a little fun, and they want to take care of themselves a little bit better right now, and they need their time outs. So if you're planning parties and stuff like that, social times, honestly, right now, up until the 19th and 22nd, this is a great time to do it, because people really, really, really need a fun outlet. Just watch that full moon. So try not to plan anything too close to that. And if you do, make sure you know who your hotheads are, and that you have a contingency plan in to get them under control before the party turns into a brawl and the cops get called. Because it won't be the cops coming and breaking up. It'll be the cops showing up, and then next gunfire blazing and all. No, just no. We've got enough headache in the world. Don't add to it, right? So if you plan parties around the full moon, which is going to be on around the 13th, if you've got anything going on socially around that time, should be very, very good. Should be a great time. Just make sure that you know who's attending and you have contingency plans in for problem personalities, and you'll know who they are. You'll know who they are, or who has the potential to be. Now, once we get down and Mars goes into Virgo and Venus goes into Virgo, it's a whole different ballgame. Things are going to quiet down. Everybody's getting serious. We're getting back to what needs to get done. And this also coincides with getting ready for back to school. So many of you will be very focused on getting the house organized, getting everybody back on the sleeping schedule, hygiene, sleep hygiene, oral hygiene, all that sort of stuff, because the kids are going back to school and they need to be back on a routine. With that said, and Virgo is also the sign of the mind, so many of us are going to be thinking about what we can do in terms of improving our skill set and our knowledge base. So many of us will be finding or looking into education or learning of some kind to develop new skills, or to increase or change or add to our wheelhouse of things that we're capable of doing. And this is an excellent time to do that. And the reason is, not only is that fitting with the energy, but Mars and Mercury, excuse me, what are you doing? Sorry. Oh, sorry, my dog. Not Mars and Mercury. Oh, Lord. Mercury will be in Virgo, and Mercury is in its rulership in Virgo, which makes it much more discriminating. So the devil is in the details in life, and anybody who is an efficiency expert or a problem solver will tell you the devil is in the details. So Mercury in Virgo makes us all much more discriminating and all much more aware of those devilish little details that we may have overlooked before. So this is a really, really good time to start things and to do new things, because we will be much more aware of the fine print that we're getting in. Now, the other thing is that for those of you who are doing healing work or interested in self-healing or taking care of yourself, this is a fantastic time. All this Virgo energy is a phenomenal time to get in and start doing some of that housekeeping and hygiene on yourself, psychologically as well, also. See, people think Virgo is just not sexy. Y'all just don't know. Virgo is so sexy. Because, listen, there's nothing sexier than shiny white teeth and a clean mouth, because nobody Nobody's trying to love up on somebody with big jacked up teeth and black holes, cavities all over the place, and smelling like they haven't bathed in a week. I'm just saying. All right. Now, so that's it. Once everything goes into Virgo, things are going to calm down. Now, these Virgo planets, Venus and Mars, will also be making beautiful trines to Uranus, Saturn, Pluto, making a nice romantic opposition to Neptune. And Mercury will remain in Leo, which is still very romantic and poetic. And the Sun will also, around that time, 1922, the Sun will follow Venus and Mars and move into Virgo with it. So we'll have a nice stellium going on, Sun, Venus, Mars, and Virgo, with Mercury in Leo. So this will be a very, very active time for people who are looking to improve themselves. So it will be like the New Year's resolution that we usually see in January, except for whatever reason, it's going to be the end of August. We're all suddenly feeling like we really need to get in shape and get it together. Who knew? It will be very productive and very, very good. Now, at the end of the month, we do have a new moon at 6 Virgo. Virgo. The new moon at 6 Virgo will be making a nice trine to Uranus. Almost exact. So the new moon trining Uranus allows us to find new ways and innovative approaches to things. So if you're really looking at how to get yourself out of a rut, or you're looking for, oh my God, some type of flash of inspiration or insight or something, some kind of fresh perspective or thinking, because everything you've tried so far is just not working, this new moon is a great time to call that into your life. This is also a very, very good time if you do meditation or vision work or meditation work. Did I say that? I might have said that. Mental work like that. This is a really, really good time to kind of get in there and do the work, because you will be amazed at what the universe provides you under this wave of energy. So brilliant insights and great ideas are possible, like flashes of lightning under the new moon, because it will be making a beautiful trine to Uranus, making that easier. So that is, and we're at the half hour mark. So that is our August report. Again, this first week of August, like around the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, woo boy. But remember, we are closing out accounts for stuff that started with this eclipse back in July, this Capricorn eclipse in July. We are not out of the woods, because this is Pluto, and that's Pluto's deep and heavy and dark. And that's what I wanted to mention. So, with that, I want to add, for those of you who've taken this eclipse, that are taking this heavy Plutonian kind of energy, especially with this Mercury station and all that everything is, do not despair. This will pass. This too shall pass. So if you're struggling to get it together, or you're finding yourself really being darker than usual, it's okay. You know, find supportive people you can talk to, find things that you can do, that you can do. Forgive yourself for not doing more, and understand this is a time of gestation. So right now, you're going in deep, you're turning over a lot of old, smelly, composting soil in your psyche, because that's where all the fertile stuff is. So buried in there is material, rich, raw, wonderful material to create new life with. And no, you don't get to know what it is yet, because you haven't planted those seeds. So, and even if you could plant the seed, you still have to wait for it to grow a little bit before you can see what kind of plant it is that you actually seeded into that. So, it's not easy. This particular eclipse that just passed is not easy by a long shot. And this week seems to be the worst of it. But we'll get through it, because it will not last forever. And there are much bigger processes involved that are going to take you to much bigger places. So keep the faith. Remember, all of August is about getting your mind right and visualizing and putting the future that you want to see, right, out there. Hold fast to that. Because if there was ever going to be a war of dark and light, it's happening now. And they're not winning. They're not winning. They're not winning because all these generations up until now, all of you who have been so focused on being higher evolved beings, trying to get to a place where it's literally live and let live, and let's all live together in a way that's healthy and supportive for all of us. Literally focused on, let's leave this place better than we found it, because we're leaving it to our kids. All of you who've been part of that, you're the reason we're literally not in the middle of World War III and Armageddon. Okay? Because it could have happened long before now. Trust me, it could have happened long before now. And it hasn't happened. Because you guys up here have been visualizing and contributing to an alternate reality that's not that. So keep fighting the good fight. And also consider the fact that the worst of these natural disasters and weird climate things that are happening up until recently, and for the most part, have been happening in heavily religious belts along the planet. So even in the U.S., if you look at like the Bible Belt along the U.S., it's where a lot of this, fire and brimstone predictions that they've been calling on for Armageddon, it's only happening along their neighborhoods, right? And the same thing with other religions in other countries. So the ones who've been calling down hellfire and brimstone for generations. Funny how the worst of it seems to be happening in your neighborhood and nobody else. Because this is what's creating reality. And for those of you who aren't contributing to that, you've been helping to keep some of that, at a distance. So keep fighting the good fight. Get your mind right.